This episode is shit!
We open with Pokeoke's kindergarten being closed and a flashback that uses the old art style to explain why.
Even though we probably should have been able to see the glowing fuzzball above the school, but you know what? That's not even my issue. The entire theme of this episode is the fact that they're interacting with older kids.
Even though we've already seen them in this setting at least 3 times.
So, same issue I had with Powerpuff. But then there's the implied continuity, since we had no reason to think about Pokeoke's kindergarten. We had no reason to assume that they'd be there in this series, other than the fact that we thought it was a reboot. And this causes some problems later on, too, since
The professor talks about the girls growing up quickly.
even though the only reason they aren't going to the kindergarten is because it was destroyed. Why pointed out it was destroyed otherwise?
Anyway, Blossom points out the fact that they should fit in just fine.
Especially since, as I would like to point out, if the only reason they're going there is because they're combining the kindergarten with another school, because the other one got destroyed, then one would guess that they wouldn't really be interacting with the older kids very much.
Guess what happens?
In fact, can I address how poor this city planning is real quick?
As the girls are getting called babies throughout the day, I can't help but notice how most of the kids they interact with act like middle schoolers at the very youngest.
Their behavior is more in line with teenagers than, honestly, even preteens. And the class structure and the lockers seem to imply a middle school or a high school. So I have to ask, why the fuck are you putting kindergartners in even a middle school? That's a huge age gap.
We see kids running out of the school when it gets destroyed.
So where are they? Did all their parents move? I doubt it, since...
We've seen Robin.
So did they get moved to another school? Is this a few years in the future? If so, why are the girls not aware that they're going to a different school? Wouldn't they realize that by now? Do their memories get wiped every year or something? And where are the other kids that they interact with in the other episodes of this show? Is this some kind of fluid setting where you can just put the girls wherever the hell you want to fit your narrative? If so, why even bother bringing up the kindergarten?
The girls ask for the professor to make them older, and he makes an aging
Medicine? Formula? We'll just call it goop.
which he tells the girls to not take more of than what he gives them. Guess what happens?
Yeah, part of my issue with this episode is how incredibly predictable and paint by numbers it is, so don't be surprised if this review on my end is a little bit on the short side. Although, I do want to bring up one thing about this entire thing. If the professor really didn't want them to take more of the goop,
He probably shouldn't have put color-coded twisty straws into the beakers of goop. They become old and start doing old lady things at school.
almost none of which require them to actually be old ladies to do. Well, true.
Buttercup probably needed the age to give her story credibility.
The other two girls got made fun of at first for being old anyway, and you know what stories Buttercup could have told without being old that would have had some credibility? Ones where she's actually, I don't know, fighting crime! Actually, yeah, that's another big question I have. How the fuck do these people not know who the Powerpuff Girls are?
There's a couple little cutaways that have the professor accidentally make a monster while trying to make the cure.
And those are the second best things about this episode.
Outside of Mojo's conversations with his mom on the phone.
Since again, the whole reason I'm skimming over the main plot so much is because I don't care! When everything is built on such flimsy logic, and it's just such recycled dreck, that I have to look to background elements to get any sort of entertainment whatsoever, there's a problem!
The girls run into Mojo. Mojo runs off to do a crime spree while they slowly chase him.
Because old people.
And they wind up using old people stuff to stop him.
Because old people.
The most interesting thing that happens during the rest of the main plot is that Mojo breaks free from the girls only to get mauled by teenagers.
That's at least a bit of a change of pace.
The girls get returned to normal and this episode can finally die.
This is nice.
Rape! Rape! Call the police! Call the Powerpuff! Oh, right. That was pretty much why this episode sucked. It was boring, lifeless, and it had a couple of redeeming moments in it, but that doesn't mean I ever want to watch this episode again. That's pretty much it.